friends, welcome to another episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast. My name is Hannah and this is a podcast all about crochet, a little bit of knitting, sometimes sewing, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. It has been a crazy couple of weeks, y'all. I am a week late uploading this podcast episode, and that is because the hurricane hit Florida. We are okay, but we had no power for 4 days. So we had no power from Wednesday night when the hurricane hit all the way until Saturday night. And Saturday afternoon, we actually went to Orlando on that pre-planned trip. And thankfully, the place we were staying had power. So we drove to where the power was and got hot showers. It was a crazy week for sure. The hurricane was scheduled to come like directly at us in St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay where I live. And then like a day before it turned and hit Naples and Sanibel Island. And Josiah and I have been to Sanibel Island, and part of the bridge to Sanibel Island is just gone. Like, it blows my mind that water can just remove a part of a concrete structure that's like embedded in the earth as if it never existed. And so there's some really terrible images from south of us, a couple of hours. People have lost homes, businesses, hotels have been like flattened. It's crazy. Hurricane Ian was really, really intense. It was 155 miles an hour, and I think 156 miles an hour is a category 5 hurricane, but this was a category 4. So the worst of it was about 100 miles south of us. So we simply had a lot of wind and rain, but we didn't have any flooding or anything like that. We had some trees down. We had a lot of debris in our yard, but we didn't have any major damage. So we were able to clean up, but we didn't have any power for 4 days. So I could not record a podcast, not to mention Nova without power. Not the most excited. She is currently sleeping or trying to get to sleep. I just put her in her crib about 10 minutes ago. I am really proud of her. She's done so well the last 2 weeks, because last week was a hurricane. She was very upset before the hurricane because she knew something was wrong, and I kept trying to like be as calm as possible for her, but we boarded up our windows. We were making all of the preparations that you make. So she knew something was wrong. And then we had no power for 4 days, which she made it 3 of those 4 days without huge meltdowns. And on the 4th day, she was like, I've had enough. And then we went straight to Orlando, where she's sleeping in an unfamiliar place. And really, she's only had like maybe 1 or 2 meltdowns a day, which honestly, I feel like is pretty good. I feel like that's very good for an almost 2-year-old who is completely out of her routine. So she's sleeping in her own crib, and she was so grouchy on the way back from Orlando this morning. And in the minute we got home, she ran into the house and was going, our home. Like, she's so happy to be home. Sorry, I have fuzz in my eyes. So yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and that is why my podcast is late, but we are safe. We are all good here. I know that is not the case for other people, and that really breaks my heart. But for now, our house is standing, and you wouldn't even know that a hurricane had happened because it's beautiful outside. Because it's been 3 weeks, and because it's been a crazy couple of weeks, the amount of stuff I have got done is a lot, but a lot of it is socks. So for a week and a half, I worked on various projects like sweater, garment, hat, blanket. And then after we lost power, I pretty much could only sock knit because I can do that in the dark or in very dim lighting, but I can't concentrate, and we didn't have any. We had like little bitty lights, but not good enough for me to see. Not with my bad eyes. And then we packed for Orlando in the dark, and I meant to pack a crochet project and forgot. I also forgot sunscreen and Nova's teddy bear. So that was fun. But I didn't have any crochet the whole time we were in Orlando. I only had socks to work on. So I got a sock and a half done while we were in Orlando. So I'm not gonna go in terms of like finished objects and then works in progress. I'm just gonna go in order of the things that I worked on. I have some finished objects, but their ends are not woven in, so they're not finished, you know. But I do have one exciting thing before we get started, and that is that the Malia shawl pattern is officially out. It was supposed to be out last week, but the hurricane, so it is here. It is a 3-color DK or worsted weight. I used worsted weight 100% alpaca yarn pattern. It is a top-down triangular shawl with all of this fun texture And there are modifications on how to make this bigger. And you have, of course, optional tassels if you would like to add those. And this pattern is available on Ravelry and Payhip. Thank you so much to my lovely testers who tested this pattern. I think I had like a 4-week testing turnaround, and I just love the colors that some of them chose. This is like way out of my color comfort zone, but I wanted to have a kind of neutrals palette for this shawl. Is one of my testers did an autumnal palette, which was beautiful. One of them did like a blue. It was so pretty. So I'm just so happy about it. I'm so happy that this is out in the world, and to say thank you for supporting this pattern if you do so in the first week from today, this podcast release, until next Saturday, which I believe is October 15th. You can get $1 off using the code MALIShawl. That code only works on Ravelry, but I do have this pattern available on Payhip below, and the links to this pattern are directly in the drop down below this video, so you can click on that. And I just really, really like it. I'm not gonna be able to wear it too much personally because it's made out of alpaca, and I'm really sensitive to alpaca, but I'm so glad that that yarn grew up to be something. And it grew up to be a design, and it grew up to be a fun design. And it's like the perfect wintry time of year. Perfect fall time of year. It's not winter yet. To be making something like that. If you are looking for me anywhere on the interweb, you can find me as the Cozy Cottage Crochet on Instagram, on Facebook, and I have an email address set up specifically for this podcast. It is thecozycottagecrochet@gmail.com. I have not drawn prizes for the Cozy Summer Mal yet. I will do that at some point this week. So if the thread is still open in Ravelry, you are still welcome to post your finished objects. I just haven't had a chance because there was a hurricane and then we were not in our city. So I will do that at some point, and hopefully next podcast episode, I will have some prize winners to announce. They'll all be randomly drawn from the Ravelry thread. And I'll have a Rhinebeck recap because I'm going to Rhinebeck. I will be leaving for Rhinebeck in 1 week. Eee! Okay. I think that that's all the business. We're safe. Mali shawl. Rhinebeck is happening. Yes. Let's talk about what I have been working on for the last 3 weeks. No particular order. Okay. I am first going to start with a project that I knit furiously on. So much so that I actually hurt my finger. My middle finger. I'm not sure how, other than maybe I was gripping the metal needle too tightly. And my middle finger got really, really sore, and I had to stop working on it. And so I did for a whole week. And then I was going to pick it back up, and then we lost power. So it hasn't been touched in 2 weeks. But I have some progress to show you. It is my Cozy Classic Raglan, which is a pattern by Jessie Made Designs. And I was talking at length last time about how to do this fade, and I think I figured it out. So I want to talk about that. So let me show you the pattern first. It is Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie May. That is what it looks like. I may be making this a little bit longer than called for in the pattern. I'm not sure. And I have to be careful because I am below the sleeve split, and I have multiple balls of yarn attached to this. So skein number 1, this is how much I have left for the body. Maybe one more round. And then I have this much left of skein number 2. So last time you saw this, I was here, and that was before the sleeve split. So I did the rest of the increases. I think I had 3 sets of increases, and I've knit all of this. There are 3 sets of needles attached to this. So you can kind of see I've done this much below the sleeve split, which is pretty cool. And I think that I have knit 1 round on this sleeve and 0 rounds on this sleeve. When I split, I simply went ahead and put them on the needles because I will be working this whole sweater simultaneously top down. And the Chalgu needles, and I think a lot of other needles too, have a little hole for tightening. And I simply just put a light bulb, a light bulb stitch marker through it to keep it closed. So none of these stitches will fall apart. So what I am doing, because I need this to be faded and I need to be alternating skeins because it's hand-dyed yarn. And so I'm doing helical knitting and fading at the same time. So this whole neckband was knit on skein number 1. After skein number 1, it has been alternating skeins the entire way. So after I split for the sleeves, what I decided to do is knit a round on the sleeves and a round on the body and weigh it. One body round takes approximately 2 grams of yarn. I was doing this on my kitchen scale, so it's accurate, but it's not accurate to like 0.5 of a gram, it's just whole grams. I have since ordered a little jewelry scale that will arrive at some point so I can get a little bit more accurate with that. But so a body round takes 2 grams. A sleeve round takes about 1 gram. So what I did, that means for my amount of yarn, if I have 100 grams of yarn and I want body and sleeves, at least up here, I need 50 grams for the body and 50 grams total for 2 sleeves, 25 grams a piece. So what I have done is weighed and split it out. There is, this is attached. This one has a ball of yarn inside of it already. And I could swear I'm potentially missing a ball of yarn. I am over here. But now it's been so long since I've worked on it, I'm not quite sure. I think these 2 are from skein number 1. Yeah, they are, because they're smaller. So these 2, I will now be helical fading into the sleeves, alternating every round. This is from skein number 2 because it's more yarn. So there's gonna be 2 balls on this side, 2 balls on this side. I'll put these back in a special pocket so I know where they are. Put that one by itself. And then what I also have been doing is helical knitting the body. And so as soon as I run out of this yarn, skein number 1, I'm gonna stop the body. Then I will knit each sleeve, helical faded, up to the point where I am done with skein number 1. I am then going to re-weigh my sleeve rounds because I am doing decreases, so they may take less than a gram. And then I will calculate how much yarn I need to wind off of skein number 3 so that I can continue knitting the body and the sleeves. So I'm gonna basically split skein number 3 into 3 balls. And then once I've done that, I will knit. I'm going to immediately start fading in skein number 3 because I don't have tons and tons left. So I'm gonna just start alternating all the way down. And I'm also keeping track of my rows with a stitch counter just in case my math is wrong. I can do exactly the same number of rows on the sleeves. So right now I'm at 21 body rounds, which means about 11 or 12 rounds of skein 1 and 11. Does that math work? My brain is so tired. It's like 10 rounds of one color and 11 rounds of another. Which one, I'm not sure. But I will have the total number of rows. So let's say my math was slightly off and I stop at the end of skein number 1 on the body and I'm at 22 rounds. I will then work 22 rounds of fade on each sleeve. If I have a little yarn left over, then I'm just gonna snip that off because I want them, because I'm weird and I want them to exactly match. But that will ensure that I should be able to do it with no problem. And I really should be able to do it with no problem because I am decreasing on the sleeves also. So the sleeves will get a little smaller. So there's a lot of math and a lot of ridiculousness with this sweater. And like I said, I knit on it so much that I actually hurt my finger. So it has not been touched in 2 weeks, but just holding it makes me want to knit it again. It makes me happy. So that's where I'm at with the Cozy Classic Raglan. Maybe I will. I should not knit on it tonight, I guarantee you, because I am too tired. Too tired for that nonsense. So that's project number 1. Project number 2 is a finished object minus weaving in ends. Maybe that's what I need to do tonight, because that I have the brain power for. It takes almost no brain power to weave in ends. It's a baby blanket I was making for a friend in Yarn Inspiration. So I'm using Bernat Baby Blanket in Seafoam, 2 balls, and Bernat Blanket in Vintage White. This is how much Vintage White I have left. Probably half. I'm guessing half, maybe a third. But this is the blanket. So I did 3 stripes of white and then the whole thing in mint green. And then I did a mint white and mint border, which I really, really enjoy. Let me tell you how I was playing yarn chicken though. My Lord, this is how much yarn I had left of the green at the end. I really did not think I was gonna make it around this blanket. And I'm gonna have to like block this a little bit because I was crocheting really tightly because I didn't think I was gonna make it. And yes, would it have been fine with just a white border? Sure, but I wanted an extra layer of mint around it. This is just a corner to corner blanket. It's how I make all of my baby blankets because it's so thick and plush and squishy that it's a really good tummy time mat. This yarn will survive until the apocalypse. So it can survive any amount of spit up, throw up, poop, baby gunk, baby food. You can endlessly wash and dry this in a machine, which is why I will always make my baby blankets out of this yarn. I was very irritated though while working on this because the green, especially, multiple knots. Look at all these strings hanging. So many ends because there were so many knots in this ball of yarn. And that just bothers me. Like 1 knot, 2 knots maybe in a ball of yarn I can deal with, but like one of these balls had 4 knots. And I'm like, you shouldn't be selling that. It's so irritating. But this is for a friend. A dear friend who lives far away from me, who is pregnant with a beautiful baby that they have been trying for a very long time to have. And they've been going through fertility treatments and everything. So I just wanted to send this to her so much. So I'm gonna weave in the ends, maybe grab a photo, and then mail this off to her. And she doesn't know I'm making it, so it should be a surprise. Oh, still have fuzz in my eyes. I also finished the pink sockhead hat out of the Lola Bean yarn. Don't remember the colorway name, but I finished it, blocked it, and I gave it away. Because I saw someone, and I'll tell you who I saw at the end that I gave it to. Well, you should know because she's the person who gave me the yarn. Her name is Amanda. She's a lovely, lovely person and a lovely friend. And her yarn support has made many, many, many creations on this podcast. And she sent me this skein of Lola Bean yarn and said, just a note, like I should keep that one. And I was like, definitely I'm gonna make you a hat. So I made that whole sockhead hat. I think I grabbed a picture, but it was bad lighting in the hotel. But that one is finished, and I will be casting on a new sockhead hat for Rhinebeck because I'm planning on only taking one project. Is that crazy? Maybe I'll take a sockhead hat and something to crochet that's small, but I don't really have any small crochet projects on the go at the moment. So finished. I finished that. I also have made some significant progress on a top, a crochet top that I am making. It is called the Neverland Top, which is a pattern by Nomad Stitches. This is what it looks like. I am making mine not quite so cropped. I complained at length about how there's no schematic last time, and a couple people commented and said they have made her newer patterns, and her newer patterns do have a schematic included. So that makes me much happier. And I will happily crochet more of her patterns in the future because if there's a schematic, then I am delightfully happy. So last time I had finished one panel, and I have actually finished 2 panels. I still think I'm gonna be playing yarn chicken. This is how much I've left. I don't know how much this weighs. I don't know. But I have to do a border on the bottom, a border around the entire neck, and 2 sleeves. They're like short little ruffly sleeves, but I just don't know if I'm gonna have enough yarn. We'll see. I'm planning on doing the seaming. I do have these gauge swatches I can unravel also if I need to. Hoping that'll be enough. Maybe I'll just make the sleeves a little shorter because I wanted to make this top a little bit longer than called for in the pattern because I'm just personally not super comfortable with crop tops. But also I have a long torso, so a regular crop on me is gonna be like here, which is not attractive, right? So this is the panel that I had finished last time. Oh yes, you can see that magical lace pattern. There we go. Oh, I can maybe show you. There's like mountainy lace on the bottom. There, now it's showing up. So this is the panel that I finished. This is a reversible top. I believe very much that I need to add a little bit of length. I'm gonna block these before I seam them. It seems like the armhole is going to fit, but I just need this maybe to be like 2 rows bigger, 2 rows taller in the strap. And that's gonna mean on this one too. This is the other one. So from the bottom, it's the same. You have the same mountain lace pattern, and then you have a V-neck. If I make the straps longer on this, the V-neck's gonna be real low, so I don't know about that. Although I will be wearing a tank top under it either way because it's kind of see-through. So that's why I'm going to block it before I seam it. So I finished this whole thing. Where I was last time was about here, somewhere. So yeah, it's really, really pretty. It's really pretty. So basically I need to seam these together under the arms, seam the shoulders, then do a little border around here, do a border around the bottom, and then do sleeves. So it's not close to being done really, although it's closer than it was before. I am for sure going to block these before I seam them. Not only to make seaming easier, but then I'm going to pin them together and kind of try it on. Or maybe I'll just whip stitch it, like really big whip stitches that I can easily pick out. Because if I need to lengthen the straps, I need to do that now before I seam them together. At least on the shoulders. So yes, that is another pattern I've been working on. Let's see here. I have so much socks to talk to you about, but let's talk swatches and one more project, and then we will talk socks. I have worked on, this is before the power went out as well, a swatch in the neon highlighter yellow yarn that was dyed by Malia, who is Malia Made It. I will leave a link to her shop down below. And I was just playing around with different hook sizes for this. I'm trying to think. This is the bottom. So I think that this is single crochet with a 4.5 millimeter hook, or maybe even a 5. And then I was doing some short row messing around and doing some extended single crochet, which I like the feel of the extended single crochet, but I don't like how open it is, so that's not gonna work. And then this is regular single crochet on a bigger hook. So that was fun. I need to do a little more swatching, a little more playing around before I decide what hook size I'm going to use on the whole thing. And then I will do a proper large swatch so that I can get accurate gauge measurements for the entire sweater. And then I will be doing a whole nother swatch on short row shaping. So it's very, very slow progress, but I made a tiny swatch. I also started swatching for the version of the Obsidian cardigan number 2. This is in Cascade 220 fingering weight yarn. You don't know if you can see, you can kind of see the ribbing. There. So I've just done ribbing so far. I barely started this before we lost power. So I need to do some work on this as well. I need to do probably 5 or 6 more rows of ribbing and then weigh it, do some calculations, and then do the actual stitch pattern so that I can regrade the entire pattern. I just wanted to show you that swatch, even though it's really small, because I've never worked with Cascade 220 fingering before, and it's great. Like, it's so soft, it's plump, it's delightful. I really like working with it, and it is quite an affordable yarn. So far, highly recommend. The last crochet project I have to talk about before we get into knitting is a hat. And you have not seen this before. I don't know what it's going to be called. I'm using Freckled Whimsy yarn, which came from Robin Nealhouse, and she sent this to me because the colorway's name is Little Nova, and it's a sock set. So the sock set is called Serendipity. It's self-striping. So it came with this 20 gram mini and then this beautiful yarn. And I've just been playing around. I'm not sure if this is going to be exactly what I want it to be or not. The brim is exactly what I want it to be. It seems a little wide for a hat, honestly. Although the measurements keep adding up. I don't know why I'm second guessing myself on that. But this is what the self-striping yarn looks like when you work it in the round in crochet. I just think it's really pretty. These are very like retro 70s colors to me. So it's kind of slouchy, as you can see. That's why I'm like, I think this is too big and I need to like do some recalculating and rip it out. Although maybe a slouchy hat would not be a problem. Maybe I just need to start decreasing like this, but it seems too big. It seems too big for me. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna sit on it and think about it for a minute. But I was playing around with that as well. Okay, are you ready to talk about socks? Because I have 4 pairs of socks to talk about. So many pairs of socks. The first pair of socks that I finished during the hurricane. So I apparently only work on these when there's a disaster on, because they were my hospital socks. They're the socks that were with me in the emergency room and that I was knitting on before my surgery for my ectopic pregnancy, and they removed one of my fallopian tubes a couple of months ago. And they're finished. They're so pretty. I am in love with these socks. This is my favorite pair of socks that I have knit in a very long time. This yarn was a lovely gift from a viewer of this podcast named Gian, who sent this yarn to me as part of the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted campaign. And it is the yarn jar in the colorway Wild Orchid. That's how much I have left, just a little tiny nug. But I finished them. The way that I work my socks, I'm just gonna say this once because we have a lot of socks to talk about, is I usually do them top down, 2.25 millimeter needles. I cast on 64 stitches, I do 15 rounds of ribbing, and then I will either do 15 rounds of stockinette for the ankle, if I'm doing a shorty sock, or 6 inches from the top of the cuff before I put in a heel for a longer sock. I am currently doing the Shadow Wrap heel, which is a pattern by Denise, who is Earth Tones Girl. And then I knit for about 5.5 inches of the foot and do Mina's rounded toe. And Mina is a knitting expat. I think that toe is it's either part of her vanilla sock recipe or her Mina's 2 at a time socks. I can't remember which one because I have it memorized. So this is project number 1. I just love them. I have to weave in these ends. Not woven in, not woven in. So I need to weave in them and wash them and take pictures of them, and then I can wear them. I need to get this done because I want to take these with me to Rhinebeck. They're so happy. That's sock number 1. Sock number 2 are also finished during the hurricane. And it was the second pair of the Serendipity Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the colorway Jingle Jangle and Retro. I'm not sure, this one maybe is Jingle Jangle, but I made that green and white pair as well. I paired it with a pink mini from my stash. This is how much I have left, and this is how much I have left. This was a 50-gram ball. So just little nuggets. These are actually going to someone else because they are a little big for me. And I know someone who went through something sad recently, who is a worthy person to have socks. So it is very, very hard to get me to make things for other people, but I think that this person will like these and appreciate them, and it will make them happy. I had 1 sock finished last time. I don't know where I was on the second one, but both of them are finished. I just need to weave the ends in, and I just love them. They're so pretty. I would totally keep them if they fit me, but they don't. And the person who is getting these is a wonderful friend who could use some cheer, probably. So that's pair of socks number 2. Crazy, isn't it? 2 finished pairs of socks, but there's nothing to do when the power's out. Nothing. So I finished all of those, and then I was like, well, dang, what am I gonna take with me to Orlando? And so I dug out, well, I already had 1 set ready to go, and then because it was dark, I just kind of like fished around. I knew where this particular sock blank was, so I grabbed it. You guys, this is a sock blank that I dyed myself. Clearly should not be allowed to dye yarn. I went over to my lovely friend Maria's house, and we dyed sock blanks, and she dyed some hot pink yarn that will become a mix and match sweater eventually, after the Cozy Classic Raglan is done. And I dyed this sock blank, which looks very pretty in a sock blank. in a sock, not so much. It's not quite as bad down here. It was supposed to be, like we had these defined flowers, which they're kind of like muddy after the thing. And there was green down here and there was blue in the middle and then there was yellow suns up top. But the yellow kind of took over everything. Like the yellow was much more defined before it went into the proving drawer, the heat, whatever that is. And I clearly know nothing about color or color theory because what do you get? This is all purple speckles and purple flowers. What do you get when you mix purple and yellow? Brown. You get mucky brown. So this looks really pretty. I am affectionately calling these my swamp creature socks. They're not horrendous, but they are kind of ugly. And in fact, they're so ugly that I find it endearing. And I will 100%, these are for me. I will be wearing them. But look at this. Look at what I dyed, y'all. That is not attractive. Especially this part. Oh, it's so bad. I don't mind this part so much with the purple, like really defined purple, but I just clearly should not be allowed to dye yarn. I don't know what I was thinking. All of this right here, this murky, is because purple and yellow got mixed. The only difference on these socks than my regular socks is I actually made the cuff 20 rounds instead of 15. I have made some serious mistakes on this sock, and I don't think I've ever made so many mistakes. I don't know why. Just incapable. I dropped 2 short rows on the heel and had to fudge it because I still have no idea how to pick up short row stitches. These are like, I don't know what kind of short row stitches they are. They're not German short rows or wrapping turns. They're other kind of short row for the shadow wrap heel. So I just fudged it. Can't really tell. I also dropped or like somehow miscounted on decreasing for the toe and had the right number of stitches, but the wrong number, like the wrong number of stitches on one side than the other. So I either missed a decrease. I don't know. I fudged it. So I don't know. I'm calling these my swamp creature socks. They're just very strange, very odd socks. And I have actually started a second one. And I am past the heel. Because the only thing I had to work on in Orlando was socks. So all of this has been done since the hurricane left us. This one's not quite as bad because it's got some light blue in it. It's not so brown, but like, it's like here is where it starts. Oh, like this. Yeah. So yes, I don't know what I was thinking when I dyed this. I also don't know what I was thinking while I worked on them because so many mistakes. So many mistakes on this sock. But it's fine because it will still wear like a sock. You can't tell. It's on my foot. At least that's what I'm telling myself. The last pair of socks just got barely started. And this is from the sock set that Eden of Eden's Fun Yarns, and I'll leave a link to her shop down below as well. She sent me this as like a get well, feel better after my surgery. And this is a sock set that she dyed, and I think the color is Springtime. Is it? Spring. This color is Spring, and this color is Rosy. Rosy or Posy? One of those. So yeah, I started it, and I'm past the heel on this too. This one only has 15 rounds cuff. So 15 rounds of cuff, 15 rounds of stockinette, heel. And there we go, part of the way into the foot. Can you believe all that sock progress? That's what happens when you have no power and you're out of town and the only thing you brought to work with are socks. It's just crazy. It's crazy. So that's all the yarn. Well, it's not technically all the yarn because I have some skeins of yarn to show you, but that is all the things that I've been working on. And my back hurts and I'm very tired, so I'm gonna lean back even though I feel like I'm so far away from the camera. Can you even see me back here? So we already talked about the hurricane. We're safe, everything's fine. I have to clean this house, but I'm too tired. We went to Orlando and we got there Saturday afternoon. We were able to check into our hotel and we just Nova did not nap that day. So she went to sleep at 6 p.m. I think. And then Josiah and I took just turns taking hot showers because we hadn't had any in like 4 days. It was the most magical, glorious thing of all time. And then we went to bed. We were so tired. Sunday, my parents came over and were able to spend the night with us. And the place we were staying has a water park inside of it. And so we didn't do Disney. We didn't do any of that because we have an almost 2-year-old. Like, it's just not feasible. And she can get pretty overstimulated sometimes. So we didn't do any of that. But we played in the splash pad. We played in the water park. They have another big pool there that we played in. And they have a little like kids park. They also have these big wooden tiki things that she loves to mess with. So she was having the time of her life. My parents got to hang out with us on Sunday. Monday they went home, and Monday evening Josiah's parents came to stay with us, and they stayed with us for the rest of the time until this morning. And it was so delightful to see them because Nova hasn't really seen them very much since she was born. She was a COVID baby, and she's awful in the car, etc., etc. There's so many reasons. But they came down and she just was over the moon to spend time with them. We've started a new tradition, I guess, where she does dance parties after meals. She asks for music to be put on and she just like runs laps and dances with her arms in the air. It's so cute. And we just kind of hung out. Like, we didn't do anything major, but on Tuesday, I got to kind of have a day off from like 9 to 3:30-ish. And I got to meet up with a yarny person named Amanda, who is, like I said, a friend and a lovely person. And it was just, she was supposed to be in Orlando for a conference, and then the conference got canceled because of the hurricane, but then she was still going to Orlando, so we still got to meet up together. And what we did is we sat at Starbucks and we knit for a long time. And then we got some lunch, and then we drove to Four Pearls, which is a yarn shop in Winter Haven, Florida. It's like half an hour outside of Orlando. I've never been there, but it has a ton of yarn. It's a big yarn shop. And it has a ton of Emma's yarn, which is a local Florida dyer. She started dyeing when she was like 12 or something. I don't know how old she is now, but she has a huge yarn dyeing company. And it's very beautiful yarn. So we went there, we browsed, we came back, and then we all went to dinner. Amanda and myself and Nova and Josiah and his parents, and we all went to dinner together at this little British place. I did make a little purchase at the yarn store of a tape measure because I needed one. And look at these. They are the cutest earrings I have ever seen. They're so adorable. You can actually get these if you go to Four Pearls, and it's Purls. Four Pearls has a website, and I'm pretty sure all of their yarn and everything is listed on that. And I just love these so much. I had to buy them so that I could wear them to Rhinebeck. So that was my purchase. A tape measure and earrings. Oh, and I bought some tea, which is probably in the kitchen. It was like a peppermint and chamomile and marshmallow root blend. It smelled so good. I drank some that very night. And then Amanda gave me this, which Four Pearls sold. It is a La Bien Amie yarn. It is this bright in real life. What you are seeing on the screen is accurate. The colorway is Hella or Hela, Hella. I don't know how to pronounce that in French, and the whole label is in French. Other than it's 425 meters per 100 grams. It's actually 465 yards. That's kind of a light fingering. 75-25. It is. This color needs to be near my face, I'm pretty sure. I told Amanda she was like Santa Claus, because she is. She's always making yarn dreams come true. And she stuffed a bunch of yarn in her suitcase to give to me. There is this Audine Wools by Knit Crate Twinkle DK in the colorway Knit Yorker. I guess this was some kind of collaboration that Knit Crate did with Christy Glass. And it's 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% Selena, 250 yards, 100 grams. There is enough to make a sweater. And I thought in the car, because the light was like really intense in the car, that it was a like grayish blue yarn, but it's actually like a lavendery purple, and I feel like it's showing up on screen as a blue. So maybe it looks different in different lights, but it's definitely like I think it's like a light lavender, but it's really pretty either way. It's so pretty, and this is for sure going to be a sweater. I just have to find the right pattern for this, because it's maybe a cardigan or a sweater, maybe a pullover. It's sparkly. It's so delightful. So that will be a sweater for sure. And there was a Stranded Dye Works skein dyed by Jude of Stranded Dye Works in Great Britain. It also is so beautiful. It's 80-10-10 merino cashmere nylon in the colorway Anti-Valentine, which is one of Jude's most popular colorways. I feel, I don't know that for sure. I'm not. I'm not privy to Stranded Dye Works like business model or business statistics, but it feels like people are always trying to get a hold of this, and it's just so pretty. And also Stranded Dye Works. I used to watch Stranded Dye Works religiously. I haven't watched really hardly anything since Nova because I just don't have any time, and I know eventually that will change and I'll be able to get back to watching podcasts again. Part of that is because she's always around and I don't want screen time all the time with her, and she doesn't like listening to people talking. She wants music. Otherwise I would like have something going on in the background like a podcast, but it's a complicated thing. But so I haven't really kept up other than on Instagram with Stranded Dye Works, but this is so pretty. So pretty. And then there's Fiber for the People. This is colorway Oil Spill. It is 100% merino. It does look like an oil spill. It's so beautiful. There's some ice yarns, and this is a really interesting yarn. And I want to, there's a bag of it, but I want to take one out and show you. It is a 66% merino, 16% cotton, and 18% nylon. And it's 30 grams, 300 meters. So that makes it a lace weight for sure. It's kind of green, like a gray green. But it's also a little bit blue. The color is actually showing up pretty accurate on camera. It's hard to tell what color it is in real life. So this is lace. I wonder if you could make, I'm always like in the back of my head thinking about making a featherweight cardigan. But do you make that one out of lace weight yarn, or do you make that one out of fingering weight yarn? I think this would be such an interesting cardigan because it's so thin, but it's also so fluffy, and it's not itchy at all because it's merino cotton and nylon. It's not like mohair. It's just such a fascinating yarn to me. So 30 grams, 300 meters is I think what I said. And there is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of these. So 10, let's see if I can do math while my brain is like completely left the building. There's 10 balls times 30 grams, which is 300 grams of yarn. Okay. 3,000 grams? 3,000 meters? If there's 300 meters in one ball, no, it's not 3,000 meters. 300 times, maybe it is. 300 times 10 is 3,000, isn't it? Please forgive me. I can't today. This is not a day for me to write patterns or anything else. But anyways, that's a lot. That's a lot of yardage. And it's just such an interesting yarn. And again, like in the bag, like that looks black almost, right? But when I showed it to you, it looks like blue, green, and gray all together. Like what a fascinating yarn. I've never seen such a thing. And then there was this from Mitchell's Creations. which is so beautiful. It is the colorway, which I don't understand. Crab and corn bisque. It's so pretty, but I've had crab and corn bisque. It's not that pink. Unless I just haven't had this crab and corn bisque. Normally, I feel like it's a little bit yellower, not so pink, right? But crab and corn bisque is delicious. It's one of my favorite soups of all time. I have to be really careful because it's always full of dairy. But oh my gosh, is it delicious. So it's just gorgeous. And that will be a sweater as well. So I went to Orlando and came back with so much yarn that I was not expecting to. And I got to spend a whole day with like the most lovely person. And I think we're similar in so like a lot of ways. And just to learn about her and her family was so nice. And just to have adult conversation was so nice. It was just like a really, really lovely, lovely trip. So thank you, Amanda, for coming to visit me. We must do it again sometime because that was utterly fabulous. And what else? I can't even like think. I should have made show notes, but I didn't have time. We got up, we packed, we came home, we unpacked, we cleaned. Our poor refrigerator got like a couple of bottles of Canada Dry Zero in it. And our freezer has some ice cubes because the power was out for 4 days. Thankfully, we have a little solar power generator that ran our freezer for a couple of days. It can charge in the sun and then run a freezer for like 4 hours, and then you have to charge it again. But the deep freeze stays frozen for a while, and it wasn't super, super hot. So we crammed everything we could into the freezer. So we have all of that food. And my parents actually took it home with them because they stayed with us for the hurricane as well, because we have a block house. So they took it home to their freezer and they're going to bring it back. So we do have some food coming, but our refrigerator could not be run. And so everything that was in, we had to either eat or toss because it all went bad. And toss, yeah, our fridge has not been that clean since we got it. Not that it's gross normally, but you know, you got to clean when the power goes out because it is not okay, the smell that will come out of your refrigerator. So we have no food in the house other than some pickles, some Canada Dry Zero, and a bottle of honey mustard and regular mustard that we bought in Orlando. So we have to go grocery shopping when Nova wakes up. She's currently sleeping flat on her back, arms like this, with the teddy over her face. She's probably just so delighted to be back in her own bed. I know I will be delighted. I like being away, but nothing beats my bed. So we have to go shopping. I'm very tired. And it's going to be a crazy couple of weeks still, because tomorrow, my mom's coming tonight, thank God, because I have to write a sermon for Sunday. I was trying to get ahead, but then we lost power and I couldn't. So I've got to write a sermon for Sunday tomorrow. Tomorrow night I'm officiating a wedding. Saturday I'm pretty sure is booked. Sunday is normal work. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are very booked. Friday I'm leaving for Rhinebeck. I don't even know how to handle this. It's just going to be a whirlwind until after Rhinebeck is over. I am leaving Friday morning for Rhinebeck. We're flying to LaGuardia, and then I'm picking up a rental, and then we're driving up. I will not be at Needles Up or Indie Untangled or anything like that, because by the time we get there, they will be over. But I will be at Rhinebeck on Saturday and on Sunday for as long as humanly possible. I will be there, unless my traveling partner needs to go back to our room. But I am planning on being there as long as possible. I probably, unless something like I see it and I must have it, will not be buying anything on Saturday. I will prefer to do that on Sunday, I think. Although I am going with a couple of specific patterns in mind that I would like to purchase for. I don't want to just wander around because I know I'll be super overwhelmed. Even at the Four Poles Yarn Shop, I was like, oh my gosh, there's just too much. There's too much. So a couple of you sent me coffee, like what is it, like coffee donations, I guess a donation would be the right word. Coffee is basically you can make a one-time donation to someone for the cost of a coffee, which is like $3 or $6 or something, or you can enter your own amount. And I have that link below just to help keep this podcast ad-free, because I just prefer to have no ads. But it does cost like equipment and stuff like that to run the podcast. So I always have that link up, and a few people dropped coffee donations after the last episode and were like, spend this at Yarnbeck. My Lord, y'all, please forgive me. I can't even talk today. At Rhinebeck, get something fun. I don't know what to say to that. That was so nice and kind and generous. Thank you. My goal originally for Rhinebeck was to come home with one sweater quantity of yarn and a sock set and maybe like a notion or something like that. And I think I will be coming home with a little more than that, and I will just continue to create content for this podcast that I can continue to share with you every 2 weeks, continue to be new designs. And so like it feels a little overwhelming that y'all wanted to support me in that way. Like I definitely cried a little bit. It could have been that we didn't have any power and there was a hurricane coming, or it could have been I was just emotional. But I think that it's just so beautiful. Like, thank you so much for doing that. I don't want to say any names because I haven't asked if I can, but that was really nice of y'all. And yeah, thank you for doing that. So I guess I need to stop talking because I can't even string words together. I can't do math. I can't even multiply 10 times 30. And I have a lot of mess to clean up. I would very much like to have mopped this floor before Nova wakes up. Mopping, I try to do chores when she's awake because I want her to see that the house does not magically get cleaned when she's gone. I want her to be part of it, but mopping is one thing that is really hard to do when she's around because she does not understand the concept of stay off the wet floor, and there's just little tiny footprints everywhere. So I would like to mop this house before and maybe like clean the toilets and stuff because we had a hurricane and the power was out. I just feel the need to clean. But the Malia shawl is out. Make sure you use the coupon code Malia shawl down below. I wrote it out down below for 1 week for $1 off. If you would like to support this particular pattern that will only work on Ravelry, leave me a comment below. I promise I have read every single comment that y'all have left me on the last 2 episodes, and I have wanted to respond to them, but there was a hurricane, then we had no power, and then I was out of town, and I just haven't been able to, but I have read every single one, and I will respond to you, I promise. So leave me a comment below. If you've been to Rhinebeck, please leave me all your tips below, anything that I need to know before I go, and I guess that's it. I'm sending y'all a giant virtual hug. Thank you for checking on me. So many of you sent messages, and the signal was so spotty after the hurricane. I literally could only send a couple of text messages, and some of them didn't even go through. And I could upload Instagram stories like maybe once a day. Particularly static photos would upload, but no video, nothing like that would load for me. So thank y'all for checking on me. Everything seems to be back to normal in my house. And until I see you again in 2 weeks, I will have a fun Rhinebeck recap to talk about, but please be kind to yourself. And if you only work on socks for 2 straight weeks, so what? It's yarn. If you only work on a blanket for 2 weeks, so what? You're having fun. If you don't work on anything and you just focus on resting, good for you. I love y'all so much. Until I see you again,